Welcome, fellow Rotarians and guests, to this Rotary meeting this November 2nd. We'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Let us pray. Merciful and loving God, as we prepare for the November 2020 U.S. elections tomorrow, send the light of your Spirit into the hearts of all in our nation. Bring peace and hope wherever there is confusion, discord, and apathy. Awaken in us a strong desire to work for the common good of all of us, especially to those that are most vulnerable. Enable us to differ and to dialogue with reverence and with respect for one another. Pour out on us a spirit of wisdom and discernment to help us choose officials who will lead our country in the path of truth, justice, and peace. Amen. Welcoming our guests. If everybody who is a guest of the Downtown Rotary Club meeting today, please stand. All right. Welcome everybody. Thank you. And we do have a full agenda today. We are going to do a new member introduction here in a second. But in addition to that, I am pleased to introduce our District Governor, Dan Little, who is sitting right here, who will give a presentation on the state of Rotary overall in this district. So I look forward to that. And in addition to that, we have our program, Kurt Laudenbeck will be facilitating a conversation with Brienne Manor at Zeal. So we do have a packed agenda. So we'll get started with our new member introduction today. And I'd like to welcome up Rotarian Joel Dijkstra to do that.
Thank you, President Jason. I'm pleased and honored to be able to introduce the latest inductee to Downtown Rotary. Adam Brienne is an up-and-coming leader in our community and a business owner. Adam grew up in Sioux Falls. He spent his time here, graduated from Washington High School and Augustana University. His claim to fame at Augustana was to have filled the Ole costume for a couple of seasons. In fact, it may be true that he was in the Ole costume that later appeared on YouTube when he had a fight with an opposing mascot. That was in the days when the university could actually take things down off of YouTube, so you can't find that. It doesn't exist, but nonetheless is probably true. So I would like to introduce Adam to tell you more about himself, and we look forward to having him as part of the club.
Didn't expect that story to come out. First off, I want to thank the Rotary for the opportunity to be part of a distinguished organization like this. As a Sioux Falls native, I really appreciate the chance to give back to the community that has given me so much. My brothers and I run a e-commerce and fashion company that we relocated from Dallas to Sioux Falls about 3 years ago, cufflinks.com, and we do a lot of different accessories. It's mostly men's line, and we've also been doing a lot of e-commerce for other companies and some fulfillment and listing services. So that's the short version anyway. So anyway, thank you very much.
Adam, welcome to the club. I've appreciated getting to know you over the last few years, and I have no doubt that the Downtown Rotary Club of Sioux Falls is going to benefit from your membership. And as importantly, there's no doubt that Sioux Falls is going to benefit from your leadership in this community as a business owner and just as a civic leader. So Adam, welcome. It's now my great privilege to introduce our district governor, Dan Little, who is sitting down here in front, to give us an update on the exciting work, despite the challenges that this district is doing right now, and the work that Rotary is doing overall. So please join me in welcoming District Governor Dan Little.
Well, good afternoon, Rotarians. Bring you greetings from District 5610, and I just appreciate each of you, the leadership and so forth that you have that's allowed me to serve as your district governor for this year. And so in the next couple of minutes, I would just like to go through with you a little bit about my background, a little bit about Rotary and what's happening in Rotary International, and some district events. We'll wrap up with some current district events. So I guess, as they say, I was born at an early age, but I grew up near Faribault, Minnesota, out east of Faribault, Minnesota, south of Minneapolis, St. Paul, dairy and swine operation. From there, after graduation, I went on to Gustavus Adolphus College for my biology major, Texas A&M for my master's, and then my veterinary degree at the University of Minnesota. Following that, I practiced in southeastern Minnesota in a mixed animal practice, and then moved up to Rochester as I worked with in a consulting practice. And in 2002, my wife Pat and I moved to Brookings as part of supporting the dairy expansion on the I-29 corridor. And so we reside in Brookings, and excuse me, there we go. Reside in Brookings, and we have 6 adult children, 9 grandchildren, 1 on the way, but the curve is starting to flatten a little bit here. So, but really enjoy getting together with them, and I'm sure as many of you, we hope that we can get together from time to time, but this season, Thanksgiving and Christmas is giving us all just a few challenges. I'd like to go back to, as I talk about, refer to myself as a consulting veterinarian, so that you're not wondering if I'm going to run out and go take a calving here in 10 minutes if the phone rings. I really worked on management and basically management and business consulting and health consulting in the operations that I work with. And as I was called out to do calls when I'd have a sick animal, I was concerned not only about the animal I was treating, but also who else was at risk? How many other animals, especially in larger herds? How many would be sick next week? And more importantly, what were the risk factors? Why were these animals getting sick? Now, this could be the case even with small animals, but it seemed to me that the health of the animals depended on one of 3 things, or the working of 3 things, actually. That was, how did the people communicate? What kind of protocols and communication was there on the farm? What type of facilities did they have? Equipment and tools, was it up to date? Was it providing proper ventilation, dry environments for the animals? And thirdly, did they have the cash flow that was necessary to support that operation the way they wanted to do it? And if all 3 of those areas were working, the animals seemed to do just fine. When I would go out this time of year and have sick feedlot animals or something like that, it was usually because there was a breakdown in one of those areas. And I would submit to you that businesses, as well as organizations like Rotary, also need to have good communication with the people, the communicators. We need to have tools and equipment to do our work, and we need to have a financial base and be profitable, to be sustainable, to have healthy organizations. Now, in the case of Rotary, the people are represented by the clubs, by each of you, the people that do the good work of Rotary, that are serving above self for people around the world, people you don't even know. It's the communication and the working of these people that carries out the work. The organization, you might say the tools, are with Rotary International, the larger organization. We then move on to the Rotary Foundation, which is the financial arm of Rotary. And for those that may not realize it, Rotary International is an entirely separate organization from the Rotary Foundation. And we do not commingle funds between the two. So very important distinction as we look at that. Now, in our particular case, our district is the state of South Dakota, a little bit of southwestern Minnesota, northwestern Iowa, and northeastern Nebraska. We are grouped with a number of other districts in what's referred to as Zone 29. Each Rotary International director has 2 zones. They represent 2 zones. There are 17 directors, 34 zones worldwide to represent the 1.2 million Rotarians worldwide. So in this, the different colors here show the different districts. When we're working with multi-district events, and I'll talk about some multi-district agendas, they would take in many of these different districts in our zone. We're represented by Susie Howe from Houston as our director at Rotary International. Now, as we come together and in our current vision with the people, we have a common vision statement that's driving the strategic plan for Rotary International. It's a 5-year plan. We're in year 2. And together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Now, anchoring that vision are 4 strategic priorities. And so as part of that, we want to increase our impact as you work in your communities. What can we do that really causes us to stand out? How do we enhance participant engagement? When we have new members come into Rotary, let's determine what their interest really is, what their cause is, and help them to get engaged. And we'll talk about the importance of that with membership. We want to expand our reach, get outside of our comfort zone, and then increase our ability to adapt. That speaks to diversity from all different channels, whether it's race, gender, creed, political interests. Rotary is non-political, non-religious. We want to be diverse and represent the communities that we reside in. This is a picture of President Holger Connacht, his wife Suzanne, and my wife Pat. And Holger Connacht is this year's Rotary president. And his theme is Rotary Opens Opportunities. And what an appropriate theme to have in a year that we're dealing with COVID-19 for nearly the entire Rotary year. We had no idea that President Holger would be dealing with the first virtual international convention. We as district governors coming in had no idea of all the virtual events we'd be doing. I would say well over half, I don't have an exact count, of my meetings have been via Zoom this year as I visit the clubs around our district. But President Holger has asked us really to focus on 2 major priorities. One is growing Rotary. And Rotarians are great at bringing in new members each year, about 10% of the 1.2 million. But in North America, we've lost about just a little over 10% each year. So our numbers are shrinking very slowly. And President Holger is suggesting that instead of just going out and finding a warm body for the organization, let's think about retaining the good people that we're bringing in. And that means helping them to get engaged, making sure that we understand why it was that they thought that Rotary was something to deserve their time and money and commitment. And by increasing retention, President Holger's assumption, which I would agree with, is that we will naturally increase numbers because we will decrease that loss at the end of each year. You've already spoken to it, and President Jason talked about a level of strategic planning. Holger's asking us to hold at least one strategic planning meeting each year. The second major thing that President Holger speaks about is ending polio now. About 6 weeks ago, Africa was certified wild polio virus free. After having over 350,000 cases of polio back in the late 80s, we are down to 105 active cases in the world today. Those are only in 2 countries, Afghanistan and Pakistan. Now, the key to this is we cannot let up with all of the funding, the work, and so forth that's being done around the world to end polio. We need to keep vaccinating for 5 years after the last wild polio virus has been detected, to allow the polio virus to die out in the waste and sewage systems so it can no longer find a susceptible person to infect. Provided enough people are vaccinated, it can't infect a new person and replicate, and so it just slowly dies out and goes the way of smallpox, the only other disease that we've actually eradicated from the earth. So when you see pictures of people standing like this, we are this close to eradicating polio, but we need to keep up the push for another 5 years after the last case in Afghanistan and Pakistan. Now, as we move on to the financial side of Rotary, the Rotary Foundation is where we send our money, and I'll talk a little bit about the investment of that, but anything that's involved with funding from the foundation, we have a checklist of 6 areas of focus. Now, instead of it just being a checklist for a grant application, I like to think about this as a peace pyramid as we stack these 6 areas when we're working with people in developing countries. So first of all, before we can really get past go, we need to have clean water and sanitation for people. Once we have that clean water and sanitation, we can start to address disease treatment and prevention. With that, more babies are living, mothers are healthier, so we can spend more time on maternal and child health without it all unwinding because the water's bad, for instance. After that, we can move up to education and literacy, which naturally leads us into economic and community development. And in the developed world, we would like to believe that we're spending most of our time in peace and conflict resolution. Now, next year, there will be a 7th area of focus added, and it'll be talk on sustainability and the environment. But this looks great in developed countries until we have something like COVID-19 that comes in. We're naive. We do not have antibodies. We haven't been vaccinated. Suddenly, we as a developed country are back down to level 2, disease treatment and prevention. It isn't affecting children and moms very much, but there are some syndromes in children. It's definitely affecting education and literacy. It's definitely affecting economic and community support and development, and also messing with peace and conflict resolution. And so when you think about what a disease like COVID has done in the US, in a developed country, imagine what happens when viruses like this hit developing countries. And that's why it's so critical to keep doing the work that we do worldwide within Rotary. Now, the Rotary Foundation has been ranked as one of the top 501c3s by Charity Navigator for over the last 10 years. And it has been ranked so high because of how efficiently we operate and how we use the funds. So when you give money to Rotary and to the foundation, it goes to either Polio Plus, the annual fund, or an endowment fund. The money that goes into the annual fund is invested by the foundation for 3 years, and approximately 95% of the money comes back to be used directly or indirectly by the districts. So 50% is held in a matching fund called a World Fund for large global projects. The other half comes back and is split to the district grant funds that when you apply for a matching grant fund, that comes out of that 25%. The other 25% is set up for us supporting global grants around the world. Now, in the particular case, we tend to think of with the global grants, and I guess I'll back up here a minute to the district block grant. That's the matching fund grants that clubs apply for each year. Secondly, we've received a COVID response grant, which you should have just gotten an email a couple of days ago. We received $25,000 from the Rotary Foundation. And so that will be a competitive granting system among the clubs in our district. And we hope to have that money out and deployed right around by the middle of December. So that's open right now. If you have any questions about that, you can catch up with me later or drop me an email. On the global grant side, usually we think about sending money to other people in developed countries, other people in the world. And in this particular case with the makerspace, the white clay makerspace, we were identified by a club in India that we have some of the poorest of the poor people here in South Dakota. And they wanted to send us money to help them. So they asked us to host a global grant project here in South Dakota. We're working with the group that purchased the old Muni liquor store in White Clay, Nebraska. They have renovated it, and our Rotary dollars then are going to buy equipment and supplies to help Native American artists do artwork and then sell it online, make a profit, come back, buy more supplies, and help them to see how they can build sustainable businesses. Another global grant project that we're working on, and there'll be more coverage on it this Friday during our virtual district convention, is ending human trafficking. Now, most of the other districts in our zone already have ending human trafficking campaign or agenda. But again, South Dakota is one of the hot spots, not only in the country, but in the world for trafficking. The combination of our interstate system, the Native American reservations, truck stops, Sturgis, and yes, even pheasant hunting, have allowed us to become leaders in human trafficking. And so as we talk about this, and we have a keynote speaker on Friday afternoon at the virtual district conference, Ms. Jessica Crisp will be talking about her experiences in being trafficked and what she's doing now with Bridge of Hope as an organization to help young adults. Many of the things that we're doing, for instance, I know that this club is working with the Sioux 52 mentoring project, other support projects, and so forth that we have. A lot of the things that Rotarians do are directed at helping young adults finding themselves all the way from 6th grade when we do the four-way test essay. How do we make good decisions? But many of the things that we're doing will help to curb the human trafficking as well. So the main district goals are to stay true to President Holger's goals, grow Rotary, and ending polio now. We're very excited about bringing people together and thinking about ways that we can engage in dealing with human trafficking in South Dakota. And we also want to recognize all of you that have been supporters and continue to support dollars to the foundation as Paul Harris Fellows. If you need more information on the district, you can go to Rotary5610.org and gather information there, or simply Google on the topic of your choice. I spoke about the virtual conference. Due to the the COVID cases and so forth, we're going all virtual. We'll start at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time now, this Friday until approximately 9. Early on, we'll have President nominee Jennifer Jones speaking and talking about the status of Rotary today. We will later have a talk by Kathy Fay on some of the new membership models and things that we're working to grow Rotary. Be followed a little bit later by Jessica Crisp and her keynote. And then we'll have we'll do a little dinner break and then come back with our own Susie Howe, our Rotary director, to wrap up. And then we wrap the evening with the live entertainment from Williams and Ray. So please join us. And again, I thank you for your commitment to Rotary, and thank you for allowing me to serve as your district governor.
Dan, thank you very much. It's no doubt a tough year to be leading a district Rotary group with all the challenges that are obviously in place. But it is a nice reminder for myself and all of us that there's a lot of good work that the Rotary organization is doing at the district level and international level that makes this organization much, much bigger than this club. The next thing is our program with Brienne Manor at Zeal. Kurt Laumbach and Brienne are here, so I'll ask you to come join us on the stage here. And Kurt, I will allow you the opportunity to introduce Brienne. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason, for that introduction. Brienne, if you want to have a seat.
Will do.
This is kind of nice,
Yeah,
Jack.
you know, why didn't we just sit up here the whole time?
Yeah. So thank you, Dan, for that explanation and educational presentation on what goes on district, worldwide, et cetera. And I think this is an appropriate conversation today because the motto of the Rotary International president being, and I didn't capture it directly, but I saw doors, and I think doors opening to opportunity, and it was something close to that. And so what better program to have today than opening doors of opportunity, which the Zeal Center certainly offers. So again, Kurt Laumbach, I'm the current chair of the board of the Zeal Center of Entrepreneurship, and Brienne Manor is the executive director, has been in her position now for about 18 months. And she's been just a wonderful addition to the team out there and has really taken the reins of an organization that was, quite frankly, struggling to find its way a little bit and has taken it in a new direction. And we can't be more excited about what she's prepared to do. So we thought, you know, it's not normal that you become a member of Downtown Rotary and then 2 weeks later you're on the program. But, you know, this is so appropriate given the environment that we're in that we thought this would be a great opportunity to share the exciting things that Zeal is doing for the community. So Brienne, here we go. So you've been the executive director now for about 18 months.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about your career and how that prepared you for this position.
My career started at Sesame Street Live in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I had no idea it was going to take me on this journey. I'll just tell you that right now. I was very blessed to be able to have that opportunity to move away. You know, I think as young folks, we all want that opportunity to have the big
Sure.
city life, if you will. But the ultimate dream, and I know this now because I've lived in Sioux Falls most of my life, is to come back and do good for your own community. So having that experience was really important to me, and I realized it along the way as I continued my career. But I don't miss sitting in traffic every day. I don't miss all of the high fees for parking and rent and all the money that I spent on all of the wonderful things there are to do in a big city. However, got it out of my system, moved back in about 2002. And it's interesting because my journey has taken me to places such as startups. So I've worked for a couple of notable startups in Sioux Falls, one being Electric Pulp, where I was the account manager for a couple of years. Fantastic people if you don't know them. And I also worked for DataSync. So one of my Zeal board members, DataSync, out at the Zeal Center back in 2008. But when my career really took off is when I took the position as director of marketing at Sioux Falls Jazz and Blues Society. I knew that it was my calling. I love this city. I love being a big cheerleader of this city. And then there's no better way to do that than to coordinate the largest festival in the region. So I was a part of the Jazz Fest. And that led me to then my position prior to Zeal, which was at Downtown Sioux Falls, Inc., in which I served a couple of different roles, but ended as vice president of the organization, was there for almost 8 years. And that, to date, was the most fantastic experience of my life. It's when I really, I think, firmly planted my roots in this city and really learned the undertaking that it takes to run a city, because we worked so closely with the city of Sioux Falls. And being tapped for a position like the executive director of Zeal was a huge compliment to myself. But the first thing I said was, why do you want me? I'm not an entrepreneur. And in the year and a half that's taken me to realize that I'm not an imposter, I'm supposed to be in this role, is that one of my passions is supporting small business in this community. And that's exactly what I did for 8 years at Downtown Sioux Falls. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm just casting a wider net. And I just absolutely love it.
And you are running a small business, so that does make you an entrepreneur.
We're a startup ourselves.
Yeah, right. So people hear about Zeal and the word Zeal Center. And so what does Zeal do? And how did it get from when it was a thought in somebody's mind to what it is today?
Yeah, so Zeal used to be called the South Dakota Technology Business Center, or the SDTBC. And I have learned that talking in acronyms is not becoming of anyone. It's confusing. So I'm very glad that they rebranded as Zeal Center for Entrepreneurship a few years ago. But the organization itself was founded in about 2002. And the facility, I believe, was put up in about 2004, funded by the partners at Forward Sioux Falls. So Kurt, I know you're a part of that organizing committee, and we couldn't do what we do without the support of Forward Sioux Falls and the Chamber of Commerce and the Development Foundation. So much gratitude to those folks for getting us to where we want to go. But the intention was just to foster business growth in the city and to have a different offshoot program to be able to do that with tech startups. And that's really where it started. And that's what I remember when I used to work at the SDTBC, when I worked for Mike at DataSync, was that it had a very, technical feel to it. We're on the Southeast Technical Institute campus, so it makes sense. And the organization has evolved over the years. So has entrepreneurship. The definition of entrepreneurship has changed, and the types of entrepreneurs, people that didn't necessarily see themselves as an entrepreneur, are now coming to the table. So we've seen a diversity and growth as far as the types of people that are interested in entrepreneurship and that identify as entrepreneurs, which is really exciting. So some of the things that we do today, we're a 45,000 square foot facility, and we're housing some really important people in our building, such as the Governor's Office of Economic Development, Small Business Administration.
Jamie.
Jamie's here, Joni with the South Dakota Biotech Organization. We've got biotech businesses. We've got lab space in our lower level. And these folks are doing really important work in our city. So we're really blessed to be able to have this, just diversity of startups in our space. And beyond that, we have co-working space available. We have event space available for anyone in the community that needs a space. We've got some really wonderful spaces available. And outside of the walls, we're supporting a community of people. We're fostering entrepreneurship by meeting entrepreneurs where they're at. And that doesn't necessarily take place at our physical facility. That's us going to where the people are. So there's a lot going on at Zeal right now.
Yeah. So you mentioned some of the governmental agencies that are tenants at Zeal currently.
Yes.
Who are some of the current other businesses, and got some exciting things going on out there?
We have a couple.
What do they do?
Yeah, so the couple I usually lead off with, my friend Walter Ports has a startup called Helen's Plan, which is an online succession planning platform, if you will, that was born out of his loss of his parents. I mean, these stories are just so impactful and beautiful, and they really just tell the why of why people decide to start a new business and a new venture, because it's something that happened to them personally, or a change that they want to make in society. And I just think it's so incredible that we get to work with folks like Walter, who is chugging away out at Zeal trying to make things happen with his startup platform. Henry Wegehaupt, who is a young man he's technically employed. He's got like 5 different jobs and he's like 25 years old, but he has his own startup called Preventer Technologies, which is an ag startup where he's helping to automate the cattle feeding systems and support our area farmers.
There you go, Dan.
Yeah, he's incredible. Everybody that is at Zeal is smarter than me. I am smarter by proxy because I get to hang out with all of these folks all day and support them in what they're doing. You had mentioned, did you ask me about graduates?
Well, I haven't
asked me that yet.
No, I haven't asked you that yet.
Okay.
You're reading ahead.
I know. Sorry. But I was going to say, who else is currently in our facility that you should be aware of? A couple of biotech businesses down in the lower level. So a Nanovate is working on not a cure for breast cancer, but breast cancer research. And
So you run a pretty high occupancy rate. Do you have space for new entrepreneurs that are looking for
we
a
definitely
home?
do. So we offer the co-working membership. So we have an area dedicated to co-working, so you don't have to have a dedicated office space to utilize that facility or that part of the facility. But then we also do still have rentable space available at the facility. So we hover around 90 to 92% occupancy. Greg Brown could probably tell you better because there are partners over at NAI that are helping us get through. But
Right.
yeah, it's very lively out at our facility.
So you mentioned graduates. Who are some of the, there's pictures on the wall
Yes.
out there in one of the hallways of companies that have been tenants in the
Yep.
past at Zeal. So who are some of the famous faces that are on those
You bet.
walls?
So notably, the two that I typically mention would be MetaPayment Systems and DocuTap, which was recently acquired by Xperity. I mean,
Yep.
that's the dream, right? That's the Cinderella story of entrepreneurship, if you will. So those would be the two notable, but also a lot of notable smaller groups, such as Think 3D. So if you know Vani Harari, actually, I think they're the folks that are running
Yep.
the AV today. They're doing some incredible things in this community, and their nonprofit was hatched out of the Zeal organization. So again, when I talk about kind of breaking outside of the typical what people would think entrepreneurship is, I think a lot of people go towards tech or biotech, but there's a lot more going on in this community than just tech and biotech. There's nonprofits, there's restaurateurs, there's retailers. I had a refugee from Rwanda come and meet with me a couple of days ago who has this incredible business idea where she and her sister want to start a boutique fusing African design with American design. And it's so exciting to be at the helm of this organization during such a pivotal time in our city and our country. If I'm able to help, bring people together through an incredible venture such as that, like I would do this for free.
Yeah, great.
I really would.
And speaking from personal experience, McGowan Capital Group is an investor in our company, Grand Prairie Foods, and they actually got their start out at
That's right, they
Zeal.
did.
So back in the good old days when we didn't have 2 nickels to rub together, I used to go out to Zeal with my hand out looking for checks.
Yeah.
So that was my first experience with Zeal.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good one, but it turned out okay. So you're in the midst of a new accelerator program out at
Yes.
Zeal called Co-Starters.
That's right.
First of all, what the heck's an accelerator? And then
name-
what is what's Co-Starters and why
bet.
work with them?
So with an accelerator, it's like mashing like years of educational experience into a couple of months, hence the name accelerator.
Mhm.
We're trying to get startup businesses further along quicker through a really comprehensive platform. We try not to call it school, but it's definitely a series of workshops that you go through to try to figure out some of the basics, if you will, like who's your customer, what problem are you trying to solve? It seems rudimentary, but we see a lot of entrepreneurs that have skipped over some of these basics because they're just trying to hurry to get to market and they haven't answered the right questions. So we did a lot of research to say, and this is certainly something that's been missing from the ecosystem. We do not have an accelerator program in the area that speaks to the ecosystem at large. Like I mentioned, there's all walks of life that need this kind of support. So we did our research. We talked to folks across the country, and Co-Starters kept coming up as the #1 platform. So this organization is based out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, They have done nothing but support us and hold our hand through this process. It's like junior achievement for entrepreneurship because you have the binder, you have all of the supplies you need. I don't have to recreate anything. All of the tools exist. And now we're a part of a larger network that can support us in what we're doing, including our partners up in Fargo, North Dakota, who have had this program in their community for about 1.5 years now, and have said nothing but wonderful things about it. So our goal, and we already have our first date set for our first cohort, is what we call them, is January 12th of 2021. So where we are in the process to date is I reached out to probably 50 people I knew in the community that would be interested and had them go through a training. And through that training, we have come up with a list of about 12 solid facilitators that will rotate through as we host different 10-week cohorts. So the cohort lasts for 10 weeks. Again, it's accelerated, so it goes pretty quick, but you cover a lot of ground in 10 weeks. And these are notable entrepreneurs and business leaders in the community that will be leading the effort to teach entrepreneurship basically to interested startups. So the people that we're looking for to apply are anyone that has a business idea
Thank you.
that's ready to scale up, or someone who's already there that has a brick and mortar even that's looking to pivot. And
So it's not just for startups.
no,
Anybody that wants to learn a little bit more about how to effectively run a
Yes.
business could participate in this?
exactly. And the beauty of it too is that you don't want people at the same stage.
Yeah.
You want a mix of people because they also help each other along the way. And the other beautiful thing about the program is that we're bringing our partners in because there are a lot of partners in this community that want to give back and they want to be mentors and they want to teach and they want to share their knowledge. And this is the perfect platform to be able to do that because every week we're talking about a different subject matter, whether it's accounting, marketing, HR, you name it. So I'm sure everyone in this room will take part in this program in some form or shape. And I'm so excited to bring the community in to help support and foster entrepreneurship in a big way here in Sioux Falls. I
Great.
can't say enough about it. So yeah, January
So,
12th.
so those that might be in the room or listening online or watching this live on Facebook, how can they tap into the
Yeah.
Co-Starter program?
So we are working on our online presence currently. So applications, we're hoping to go live with those in the next couple weeks. So watch our Facebook platform. So startupsiouxfalls.com is the name of our website. And we also have a very active Facebook group, also called Startup Sioux Falls. So just watch social media. We'll be shouting from the rooftops about this thing when the applications are ready. And we'll also be engaging community partners in the process to be featured speakers. As we need more facilitators, we'll do more trainings. But yeah, there's a lot. We're on the cusp of a lot of communication right now. So
Great.
keep watching.
So you rent out rooms, you offer co-working space, you're doing an accelerator program to help entrepreneurs. What other kinds of programs and services does Zeal offer?
Yeah, so we're, like I said, we're part of a larger community, in which we're just trying to foster opportunities for startups and professionals to mix with one another. So we have some social type events. We're also, we're a part of the planning committee for some notable events such as Hey Sioux Falls, which is the area's only entrepreneurial awards event in which we partner with the Chamber of Commerce. So that's actually going to take place in the spring. It typically would take place in November, but we've kicked it down the road because of COVID. The Innovation Expo is another one that we have a big part in. And then 1 Million Cups. So that's probably the most consistent event that we are a part of. Every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m., we meet down at the Museum of Visual Materials, and we have a featured speaker come in every week, someone in the entrepreneurial community that comes in and shares their story. And really the intent of that is to connect entrepreneurs with resources and create this networking opportunity. And it's very important that we have repetition, but it's also really important that we meet entrepreneurs where they're at. A lot of entrepreneurs have day jobs. So we're trying to find programming that can happen in the evenings. That's one good thing about COVID, where we're able to host Zoom events. We just recently hosted a Startup Scary Stories event at 8:30 p.m. on a Tuesday night, just to try to engage different members of the community, like students, for instance. So, and that's another thing that we're trying to tackle, as well as making sure that we're engaging with area universities and helping students, hit them while they're young, right? And let them know, like, there's no barrier to entry here. You are welcome at the table, no matter how old you are, what background you have. We want everyone to come to the table.
Awesome.
And again, fostering that community is really important, and events and programming are the key to that.
Thank you.
You bet.
About a year ago, Zeal merged with another entrepreneurial community here in Sioux Falls
Yeah.
called Startup Sioux Falls, which was actually created by our
Mr.
own fellow
Paulson.
Rotary, Matt Paulson here. So tell us about how that merger came about, and what does it mean with the combined forces to the Sioux Falls area entrepreneurial community?
Well, I can't say enough about everything that Matt has done for the startup ecosystem. He's basically created a digital community of folks. That's what he does best. It's incredible to watch him work and so efficiently. But we have an email list of 3,500 people, and we have this very active Facebook group of nearly 8,000 entrepreneurs that are sharing information. And just again, it's an ecosystem within itself. And it took me about a year. People kept asking me when I came onto the organization, are you still drinking through a fire hose? And it certainly felt that way for a while. But I started to realize that it only made sense that these two organizations merge, because it's very important that our team understands all the ins and outs of what's going on in the ecosystem at large. So we see Startup Sioux Falls as the umbrella organization over the startup ecosystem. And Zeal Center is the biggest player in that. We're a facility that offers resources. So together, the merger has just been absolutely beautiful. And we've been able to add to our team because of it as well. We have a contracted writer. We're pumping out content every week, telling the stories of the entrepreneurs in our community to help inspire others that want to get their business off the ground. We're trying to untangle the mess that is entrepreneurship as much as we possibly can and make it easy for people to navigate and understand.
So we know that economic downturns typically create a plethora of new businesses being created because people are either laid off or they're tired of the grind or they're just looking for something different to decide to start their own business. I've got the next best mousetrap. Okay, what do I do? How do I connect? And
Yeah.
how are you going to help me?
You bet.
How do I go? Where do I go from here?
I think we see a lot of people busting out their phones in the middle of the night, Googling and not getting anywhere, where we just want to let people know that we exist first and foremost, like the resources that we have at Zeal. We see people come in that you can tell it took everything they had to come in and admit that they needed help because they don't know where to start. And no one entrepreneur has all of the answers, nor do they have all of the resources. So the best thing that our team does is connect. We might not have the answers for you, but I'll be damned if I don't know somebody who does in this community. And that's really what I think I'm most proud of in my career and my journey, is that I've built this really great network of people, and I know who the players are, and I know where to point people in the right direction. And again, having this accelerator program on top of it is just a cherry. It's fantastic because we have people that are ripe to get going, and we don't currently have a program in place to help get them there quicker.
Right.
So to have that accelerator program, in addition to just having all these wonderful partners that are willing to help is a win-win. So we just want you to come out to our facility and engage with us.
Great. Speaking of engagement, how does Zeal engage with the business community, and what's the give and take that goes with that relationship?
You bet. So we have several partners and sponsors that help fund Zeal. Many of you are sitting in this room today, so thank you very much for your support. But what we want to see happen, we don't just want to throw your logo up on a wall. We want you to be a part of the process. We want you to engage with our entrepreneurs. And I think about the Sioux 52 initiative, which is one of the best things our mayor has done. Becoming a city of mentors is so incredibly important on so many different levels, and it definitely bleeds over into the heart of our mission at Zeal. So what I would say to anyone who's interested in becoming a partner is we will engage you in this process. We want you to have interaction with our startups. In whatever capacity that looks like. If you want to be a one-on-one mentor, you want to be a speaker at one of our accelerator events, we just want to make sure that you're plugged in and that we're also telling your stories as well. So again, another really great thing we do is our weekly newsletter. We have a relationship with both the media outlets, the print media outlets, and we're repurposing that content. So we want to share the stories of our partners supporting startups as well.
Great. So how can folks here learn more about Zeal, those that are here in person and online, how can they learn more about what happens out at Zeal?
You bet. So you can email me or call me. You can come out to our facility, which again is located on the northwest side of Sioux Falls on the Southeast Tech campus, or you can engage with us on social media. We're very active, again, in that Startup Sioux Falls Facebook group, or just visit us at startupsiouxfalls.com and sign up for our newsletter.
Great. Thank you very much for being with us today, Brienne. I'd like to just open it up here for a few minutes for anyone who might have any questions for Brienne.
Absolutely.
No one?
We must.
Absolutely.
In light of COVID, what is the health in your mind of the entrepreneurial ecosystem right now?
Mentally, it's probably not so good. But like Kurt mentioned, during times of economic downturns, we see the entrepreneurs come to the table. And a good example of that would be 2008. 2008 was our last economic recession, and companies like Airbnb were born. So we are seeing a lot more interest in entrepreneurship at this time. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world right now, and I think people are just looking for different opportunities.
You've had an uptick in people that are connecting with Zeal, looking for information, right?
Absolutely
Yeah.
have. Absolutely. We've never seen this much interest. And again, I think our occupancy numbers speak for themselves. Our occupancy rate has hovered between 90 and 93% consistently for the past year. And again, I think that's just a testament to the strength of the entrepreneurial community.
Yeah, just as a metric, previously the 80 to 85%,
Sure.
probably more. So
Yep.
it's higher than hit the historical average. Any other questions for Brienne?
I visited about 25 IT businesses in Sioux Falls last month. They really struggle with those on restaurants. Is any way your organization helping with the paperwork and filing to get some funding or is something like this available for us?
You bet. That's a great question. So what he asked was, there are a lot of retailers and restaurateurs that are struggling right now due to the pandemic. And one thing that we've done is plug into all the other resources that are out there. The SBA is doing incredible things to help connect struggling businesses with resources, as well as the governor's office. There's a new round of funding that just came out, and we've been spreading the word about those things. Something specific that we've done, there's an offshoot program of this Co-Starters Accelerator program that I talked about, which is called Rebuild, which is specifically designed for businesses that have been affected by COVID, to take them through an accelerator program to help them pivot and shift their business model to get through this really difficult time. And we've partnered with the Chamber of Commerce as well as Downtown Sioux Falls Inc., so my former colleagues, to send some folks through on scholarship here in our community. And I'm proud to announce that we've got 10 businesses that have signed up to go through this program. And I'm so excited to see where this takes them. I wish we could do more. I wish I could meet with everybody, and I really miss those interactions in downtown and being able to meet one-on-one all the time. And I would also say, if there are any, struggling businesses out there that just need someone to listen, or they need resources, please don't hesitate to reach out to Zeal either. We can connect you.
Anything else? Any other questions? I will say that the energy that Brienne has been sharing is not staged. This is typical. So you can see that, she represents the entrepreneurship very, very well out at Zeal. So we appreciate everything you do. Any closing thoughts you'd like to have for the group?
Thank you for this opportunity.
And what's that website again?
StartupSiouxFalls.com.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Let's give Brienne a hand.
Thank you.
Brienne, thank you for being here with us, and no doubt you do bring energy to everything you do. And considering how important the entrepreneurial community is in Sioux Falls, having you at the helm at Zeal is a big deal. So
Appreciate
welcome
it.
to Rotary.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here today. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We had a packed agenda, and we got through it by 1 o'clock, a little before 1 o'clock. Please join us next week. The program will be announced here in the next, probably the next day. Look forward to that. Other than that, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.